If you've been diagnosed with ADHD, you've probably been made to feel like it's a deficit. But what if I told you it's actually your spiritual superpower and you're more in tune with your intuition than you know?
For generations, women were shamed for trusting themselves, sensing things before they happen, and believing in their own power. No one encouraged them to embrace it until now. Welcome to Trust Yourself.
I feel bad we haven't introduced ourselves on our episodes yet, so I'm going to start doing that. I'm Elise, but my sister always calls me Sissy, so I go by both.
And I'm her sister, Heidi.
And Heidi has been diagnosed with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Did I get that right? I probably have undiagnosed ADHD, and I'm sure you can think of a handful of people in your life that have ADHD.
Or undiagnosed.
Or undiagnosed. The CDC estimates that 7 million children in the US are diagnosed with ADHD, and worldwide, these estimates range from 3 to 8% of the population as diagnosed, but this doesn't include undiagnosed. So we really don't know how many people actually have ADHD.
Let's just say it's most people.
And if you've had this diagnosis, it's easy to feel like you have something wrong with you. It's seen as a lack of focus. And Heidi felt this way for years, but now we're realizing that if your brain zigzags, it's not necessarily a flaw, but a compass. Is it a sign that you're actually deeply in tune with your intuition? Today, we're talking about how Heidi's diagnosis of ADHD in her freshman year of college has since shifted from being a weight she's carried to a superpower she wields. This isn't about overcoming ADHD. It's about understanding how its traits can align perfectly with intuitive living. And if you have ADHD, you may actually be so in tune with your spirit more than you know. So Heidi, let's start with the basics. What is ADHD?
So glad you asked, Sissy. It is called attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. But right in the name, I already hate it because attention deficit is telling me I can't pay attention, and that, boom, smacking you with a label.
You have a deficit.
You have a deficit. And then hyperactivity, obviously it's telling me you need to calm down. And then disorder. So
you're not ordered.
Yes. The whole name together just feels like it's just like a negative label. But really what it is you have a brain that's wired for rapid connection making, pattern spotting, and actually deep focus whenever it's aligned with something that you're interested in. If you've seen somebody with ADHD get hyper-focused on something,
yes,
that's why.
So I know for years you've carried like this shame and self-doubt about your diagnosis, and it probably felt like a label that defined your limits, right? It made you feel like you were broken or too much. But recently, you've been honing your psychic abilities and stepping into your intuition, and you've reframed your ADHD as multi-passionate.
Yep.
I think that's so cool. How has that changed the way you see and feel about yourself?
It's pretty much changed everything because prior to it, when I was just like, yep, I have ADHD, just like most people say, it was another label that I placed on myself. But I feel like I kind of used it as a crutch maybe, but it also made me feel like I was lazy because I would lose interest in things. I would quit a project. I would start something and then a week later be on to something else. Job hopping. I never had a job longer than a year and a half. True facts. I'm 34 years old. Multiple college degrees. I also started at many other degrees. It was always this feeling of like, I'm too scattered. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I remember my dad writing in a newsletter for church one time, Heidi's pursuing whatever field of healthcare that she's feeling like this week or something.
Like, I don't even think it was healthcare. I think it was just like whatever field she's into this week.
Yeah, it was definitely very much, I got the feeling that everyone knew Heidi doesn't know what the fuck she's doing with her life.
You're putting your feelers out there.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I didn't really realize that I had quote unquote ADHD because I was just one of those that I just didn't study. I didn't read anything. I was present in class and I could absorb while I was not paying attention because I can multitask. That's kind of one of our superpowers. We can multitask.
Ooh.
So I could hear what the teacher was saying and I'm really good at just kind of, if I hear something, I can remember it. But I would be doing something else or writing in my, what is that called? Writing in my agenda.
Oh, I thought you were going to say your Lisa Frank notebook.
I didn't have a whole lot of Lisa Frank stuff. I'm a weird 90s kid. I didn't get that.
Super weird.
I know.
Oh my
Shame
God.
on me.
You were not cool.
I remember like being in class, but writing in I love calendars and agendas and planning because that's the Virgo in me too. But I remember in every month finding our month anniversary for me and my high school boyfriend and being like 8-month anniversary and putting hearts around it, 9-month anniversary. And it was like month 1 of us dating. But that's what I would do in school instead. Oh, fuck. I already forgot what I was going with this. Welcome to my brain.
Par for the course.
Oh, yeah. So in college, then that changed because you actually did have to read the books. You actually did have to study. You actually did have to do more than just show up to class. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of when I realized, oh, this is hard. And I think I was probably like 10 minutes into my ADHD assessment and I couldn't stop like jiggling my leg. And the person was just like looking at me, shaking her head. And she's just like,
you can stop taking the test now.
Yeah. We're going to talk about medications. But I'm also part of the 20% of people who are intolerant to stimulants.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I looked it up because I was curious because a lot of people are like, no, stimulants are great, which they are for many people, majority of people actually. But for me, it has the complete opposite effect. It makes me super jittery. It makes me sweat profusely. It makes me have insomnia beyond belief. The first time I took Vyvanse, I was up for 48 hours straight.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I remember laying downstairs, like on the couch, watching friggin' random ass TV at 3:00 in the morning before you had Netflix and all the cool things to do. It was just watching
whatever was up.
Horrible shows.
Horrible soap operas.
Oh God, it was so bad. And I just remember like, I remember watching like National Geographic mostly because it was the only thing that was semi-interesting to me, but just like crying and just being like, why can't I sleep? And then mom calling the doctor. And of course they were like, she's 19. She needs to call us.
Get a life, Heidi. Yeah. Grow up.
Of course. But then I was hit with the, you gotta get through this period and wait a few months and try this and blah, blah, blah. Long story short, like I tried a few different ones, eventually found something that I could handle, quote unquote. I still didn't love it. And I would just kind of go off and on it, which you're not supposed to do, but whoops. I did it when I needed it. And then I also remember at one point, I think I was in my 20s, early 20s, and I heard something because I was really into airplanes and like flying airplanes and I wanted to be a pilot really bad.
Oh yeah, I remember that pace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of my many things I wanted to be. But unfortunately, you can't be a pilot on blood thinners, or you couldn't at the time. The type of blood thinner I was on, you couldn't do it. But one of the things was they said people with ADHD make really good pilots because you're very good at multitasking, and you need to multitask as a pilot. Oh. And I was like, I'm gonna be the best freaking pilot ever. I was so excited. Clearly, that didn't pan out. But you never know. One day I still might get my pilot's license, baby.
You can.
I will. And then I think I transitioned it into my biggest strength because I realized there were so many really successful people who were openly talking about their ADHD and they learned how to work with it. More towards when we started our business, I got really into Jenna Kutcher and the Gold Digger podcast.
She's so great.
She's amazing. And she's from Minnesota, Duluth.
I know. And I'm going there in a couple of weeks and I'm going to keep my eyes out. Be like, Jenna.
I know. Every time I'm in Duluth, I'm like, if I run into her, I am going to attack her and say, please come on to our podcast.
Poor girl.
One day we'll get her. Speak it into existence. So I realized it's the superpower because one of the things that people with ADHD have is called divergent thinking, which means that you can come up with many solutions to one problem or see many pathways to get to where you want to go, as opposed to convergent thinking where you just kind of see the one way.
Pretty linear. Maybe I don't have ADHD then because I'm very linear.
I don't know. I feel like you're pretty good at that. I feel like you're good at thinking of outside of the box things, but
if I like something, yeah.
Exactly. That's all that passion. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
So then, of course, because I'm a huge Swiftie, I obviously Taylor Swift has not come out and said that she has ADHD, but You guys, she drops Easter eggs 3 to 5 years in advance.
It's insane.
And she's a friggin' mastermind. There's so many things going on, so many plates spinning at once that she's got a superpower brain. That's all I'm saying.
She does.
So, yeah, I think it's a superpower. But I realized what I needed to do was I needed to figure out how to work with my ADHD and my flow instead of against it. And Sissy, you're going to like this because I have a study.
Yay! And it's not from 1987.
I actually don't know what date it is from.
Oh.
So we're just going to say it's from now. There was a study that showed people with ADHD have higher creativity scores and often stronger interoception. It's awareness of internal cues.
So your intuition?
100%. So this is kind of how I realized that it is really like your internal compass because you are really connected to your intuition. And I wanted to reframe and rebrand ADHD from a deficit to something positive. So for me, I call it multi-passionate.
I love it.
Because that's what it is for me. That's how it shows up for me. Because I'm so passionate about a lot of things. It's still under the same umbrella.
You have the same mission, but different ideas about it.
Yeah. So I'm doing all these different things. It started out with tarot, and now apparently I can channel dead people. That's cool.
Yes, you can. I have seen it. It's amazing. Honestly, we all can, but it's fun once you start to just really tap into it and trust yourself.
Everyone can do this. We all have these innate abilities. I wasn't born this way, or maybe I was, but you forget. But this isn't a skill that I've just had my whole life. This is something that I have consciously put in the effort to hone, and then magically it started happening when I started practicing it and overcoming my fear and starting to trust myself. And yeah, multi-passionate.
Love it. So you've created a sort of system that works for you now. Can you explain what that system is?
It started out with, I have these giant sticky notes that are, large. And I put it on my wall, and I started with just brain dump Sundays because I needed to get all my thoughts and ideas out on paper so I could see it all. And then I wanted to figure out a way to prioritize them so I don't feel like I had to do everything all at once, all at the same time, because that's usually how I tend to think and feel. And then I get overwhelmed, and then I get pissed off when I didn't do 100 things in one day.
Of course. How dare you?
What the hell? So I created my own unique system where I call it the needs, wants, and desires system. What it does is it removes decision fatigue, and it allows for flow days and rest days, and it connects my action to deeper motivation. Let me explain. So we start with the needs. The needs are things that I feel like must get done this week or this day, depending on how you want to frame it. I usually just do it by week, and then every day I kind of reevaluate. But another thing that I make sure I do is I only limit it to 3 things. And in those 3 things, how do I explain it? You help me figure out how to explain it. But because in my brain it makes sense, but in normal brains, I don't know if it does.
Let me break it down for you, Heidi. This is what you're thinking.
So you have needs, wants, and desires. But within that, you do 1 for self-growth, 1 for business or work, and 1 for self-care. So I have 3 needs, 3 wants, and 3 desires, but they're each one of those 3 things. Does that even make sense? Maybe I do an example.
Okay, yes, that would be great.
Okay. So for example, I'm looking at mine. I have it on my wall at all times in front of me so I can see it. So for my needs for this week, I wrote that I need to record 2 episodes with my sister. And that was obviously for business. And then for my self-growth, I wrote that I want to write 500 words a day for my novel, which I'm writing. Also multi-passionate.
Surprise, everybody.
Hello. And then self-care, I wrote, I need to get a manicure. Have not done that yet.
That's okay.
But that's okay. And those are just the things that I really felt like I needed to do. But then you go to wants. And the wants are things that I feel like I would love to do if I have the energy for it. A few examples of my wants: 30 minutes of online learning a day, even just sitting at the piano or like trying to learn something new. And that's for my self-growth. And then promoting our business with specific ads. That is for the business, obviously. Then for self-care, I have spend alone time at the beach, which I didn't get to, but I've definitely spent some alone time grounding outside this week, which has been really helpful. Then the fun thing with desires. So the desires are what ground me in really the why and the motivation behind why I want to get these things done, so that I really have a true motivation and it doesn't just feel like I have to do these things. So I usually turn them into some sort of affirmation, like an I am statement. So for the writing, for my self-growth, I wrote, I am a writer and author. Really, it just kind of translates to, I want to write 500 words a day because I want to be a published author. But instead of saying, I want to be an author, I turn it into I am. So I am an author. I am a writer.
So you bring it back to the present. You make it feel real in the present, that your desires are here, even just speaking it into existence. I like
exactly. That. Retraining my brain instead of being like, oh, one day I'll be an author. Because if I say that, then that pushes your
one day keeps moving forward.
Exactly. And it minimizes what it actually means to me. Then it makes it easy for you to procrastinate it because you're like, yes, it's not that important, right? One day I'll do it. So make it an I am statement. And then for the business, I am generating my own income.
Hit her up on those DMs, guys. Tarot's open.
I can channel for you.
Yeah.
So for my self-care one, I listen to my body and treat it with respect. I respect my body. I treat her with respect and I listen to her. Even with all of that, I make sure that I give myself some grace with this because I have learned to understand my energy flow. And there are times when I have a lot of energy and times where I have no energy. And the times when I have no energy, I make my needs super simple. And that's okay. And I do it guilt-free because I know that when I honor my energy and I honor my flow, I'm able to be more in the creative energy better when I'm more present and allowing myself the space and the container to be creative when I have those moments of more energy. And then the moments where I have less energy, I allow myself to be calm, be quiet.
Follow your intuition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Follow your body's needs. So when you're sitting down for these brain dump Sundays, are you also thinking about your energy capacity with each goal for your wants, needs, desires? Are you writing down wants that are high energy, high impact, and also low impact? Like, I also want to take a nap. I want to record an episode, both very different energy levels. And that way each day you can kind of pick which one you're doing based off of your energy.
I mean, you can't see my whole wall, but I have multiple giant sticky notes. And so there's the dump ones where I say all the things that I want to do, all the things that I need to do. And then I have just the one sticky note that has 3 under there that I have picked from that. But because I've kind of learned my energy rhythm, every week when I do it, I can say, okay, this is a high energy week. I can really be productive and use my higher stretch goals versus the weeks where I'm just, all right, we're taking it easy this week. I'm just going to do the bare minimum I need to keep going.
So how do you make sure you don't feel disappointed if you don't do these wants, needs, desires, if you miss the mark?
I don't think it completely stops it because there are still times where I do feel guilty or a little sad when I don't do it. But I will say it helps majorly when I make it just those 3 very specific things where it's just, okay, I only have one need for the business today and one need for self-growth and one need for self-care. And obviously I put the business a little higher than I put the self-growth and self-care, but there are times where I do put the self-care first. Yeah. So it's really fluid. And the more I've been able to do it, the more I've been able to release that control feeling like I need to do it all. And it wasn't easy. It didn't happen overnight. But now I feel like I have less guilt.
So I might have missed it, but did you say you pick 3 things each day, or was it for the week?
I tend to do it for the week. And I think that that's actually something that has helped me feel like more okay with not getting things done. Because it's like, okay, I didn't do that today, but I can do it tomorrow. So it's really finding what works for you. But for me, it works to set a weekly goal instead of a daily goal, because with daily goals, there's almost more pressure. Like, I have to get this done today. Even if it's just one thing, it does feel like it's more pressure. So for me, I have to take off that pressure. Otherwise, I do crumble. And sometimes then I freeze and I'm like, I just can't do anything.
So how has this reframe of ADHD to multi-passionate really helped your intuition and your psychic abilities?
It has been wild what has happened. I think what it really did was when you say ADHD and you're working in an environment like when I was working in the hospital, it's very structured and very fit inside the box. And when I feel like I'm a multi-passionate instead of being like, oh, I have just so many ideas or so many projects that I'm working on, it's literally changed my mindset into anything is possible. And it makes me feel like I'm able to pick what's feeling right in the moment. Like yesterday, I really want to do a lot more TikTok lives because it's getting me out of my comfort zone. And in these lives, I'm literally doing psychic readings for people and channeling. And I've never done this before. A week ago, I hadn't done this before. We just had that episode with Carly Ashworth last week, and
Love her.
oh my gosh, I don't know if she opened up some sort of portal in me or what.
She
but
totally did.
She's amazing. I had a one-on-one with her, and she kind of told me more about what sort of abilities that I have. And I had already been kind of doing that, but I was using tarot almost as a crutch. And I told myself, okay, the next time I get on TikTok Live, I'm not going to use tarot. I'm just going to see what happens. And what happened literally blew my mind.
I was watching it. I was like, what did you just say?
And I think it was nice because it's on live, you're not face to face with people, and it's people I don't know. So kind of that judgment and that fear went away. And I was able to just say whatever was coming out of my mouth, even when it felt absolutely batshit. I don't even know if I fully answered your question.
I feel like I'm going to answer for you.
Yeah,
Sorry,
okay.
correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like because you are just kind of fully embracing the ADHD, embracing the multi-passionate, you're not going against it, going against trying to fit into societal structures and constructs. You are creating your own, which in essence is you are following your intuition. You've always been more intuitive, and it's just that you've been trying to stop it because you wanted to fit in. So now that you have embraced your ADHD, I feel like you've just unlocked so much intuition. You've unlocked your psychic abilities. And it just goes to show, again, that anyone can do this because you were not reading people at 12 years old. You didn't see ghosts or spirits like other people have done. And I also wanted to say that I think this is so beautiful that we're talking about this in reference to ADHD because it is so important. But I also feel like even if you don't have ADHD, it's still speaking to the fact that when you trust your own natural flow and stop forcing to fit into traditional structures, that's how we can all unlock our intuitive spiritual gifts. But you with ADHD are helping to kind of break that open and show that it's okay. You stopped apologizing for how you work because you realize now your brain's not broken. Your wiring is unique to you, and that difference is your golden key. I opened up the universe, click. And I think to give yourself more confidence in that, if you start tracking those intuitive ADHD zigzag moments, you're going to realize that this happened for a reason. You're intuitively drawn here for a reason.
Exactly. It's almost like in this 3D world that we're living in 3D Earth, there are so many structures and we're trying to fit into these boxes. And now we're just kind of opening up our minds and expanding our worlds. Even when we think about these abilities too, like this isn't something that 10 years ago people were talking about. But now we're talking about these things and we're realizing that these are natural gifts that we have just been suppressing through our structure. And now it's time that we start challenging the norm.
Yes, please. I'm done with that.
We're getting sick of the norm, guys. Let's just be real. I'm over it.
I love this. I think it was a great conversation. And on this note, this is a perfect time to now do your tarot. It's time to trust your tarot.
Okay. It's funny because I was actually drawn to a different deck first, but I'm going to go with what I've been using.
Intuition.
I know, but I'm also going to also pull that card. I'm going to start with the one that I've been using, and then I'm going to pull the other one too.
Okay, good. What was that?
I don't know. It's just sometimes the cards just make me laugh because of what we're talking about. So the first one is, of course, the Fool, which in this deck, it's the Traveler, number 0, all about taking the leap of faith, adventure, potential, just going for it, blind faith. But then also number 4, the Emperor, which is all about stability. And so it's literally creating your structure within this freedom.
Exactly what you just did.
That's what I've been doing. And, if you guys remember back on our numerology episode, my karmic debt is learning how to have freedom and stability. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, one more.
Okay.
Because I felt like I needed it. This one's just my Earth Magic Oracle deck. So it's just kind of like a little thing to think about this week. So we just got 2 flyers here.
Whoa.
This is... Can't make this shit up. So we got crystals and it says focus.
Sorry.
You guys are hilarious, these cards. But also stone people, which is vigilance. So it's kind of that same thing.
Kind of the same thing.
Also, I didn't notice this before, but on this crystal card, it's a beautiful like amethyst cave. And then there are these little yellow stars kind of leading a trail out of the cave and into the sky, which I've never seen before. And to me, it's really highlighting like when you focus on the things that light you up and bring you joy, it really opens up your path. And
takes you out of the cave.
It takes you out of the cave, but you're
I love
also
that.
creating that structure within it. So again, freedom and structure together. So if you know anybody with ADHD who might like this episode, be sure to share it with them. Also, if this resonated with you, follow me on TikTok at Multi-Passionate Mystic. We'll put the link in the show notes.
And until next time, it's your move, sis.
Make it count.
Bye.